Oh, are we back in a big way? Sunday, Bloody Sunday here on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel. I am Matt Barrie, the host of the Sunday, Bloody Sunday, the bartender, really, if you think about it. The bedhead's out of control this morning. That's for you guys, the grind. BYU, Kansas. BYU's been a late night gauntlet for college football final, but Kansas, look, BYU had lived dangerously last week against Utah, Kansas. I know they're struggling, but they've taken down two Big 12 favorites 2 weeks in a row, Iowa State and BYU. So cheers to Kansas for ruining everybody's season. So yeah, a little disheveled this morning. The Bloody Mary was at the right place at the right time. And you guys know me well enough by now here on Sunday Bloody Sunday, where I like to cheers. It's where we sit. It's where we regroup. It's where we celebrate a day that was college football. And you also know, when given the opportunity, I start off by bragging on my alma mater when there's a reason to brag about my alma mater. I want you to let this sink in really quick. And this is a big picture conversation for me to eventually bring it back to Arizona State. Preseason media polls are absolute garbage, trash. No, I feel like there's zero research put into it whatsoever. None. It's like, oh, let's look at last year's team, not do any research on who's coming back or who's leaving, and just rank them and predict them based on last year's bona fides. So when you look at the Big 12 in the preseason media poll, let me go national real quick before I go hyper-local on this one. Nationally, people sat there and tried to convince the people, the media tried to convince the people in the AP preseason poll that Florida State and Michigan were top 10 teams in the country. Florida State and Michigan. They didn't think to look at Michigan's roster before kick and realize that the star quarterback, NFL, the star running back, NFL, most of the offensive line, NFL, handful of guys on defense, NFL. Oh, by the way, the coach that built it into a national power, NFL, and took half the damn coaching staff with him. But because it was Michigan and they're defending national champions, rather than objectively look at them instead of the logo and last year's team, top 10 team. Hell, they may have been top 5. I don't remember where they were. Florida State, they said, you know what? Rank them top 10. They didn't think that Jordan Travis was gone. They didn't think that Keon Coleman was gone. They didn't think that a lot of those star players on defense were. They didn't look at any of that. Johnny Wilson, there's a lot of talent from that team gone, NFL. Oh, this next portal class will do it. Rank them. Making the preseason ACC favorite. Utah, make them the preseason Big 12 favorite. Oklahoma State, make them the preseason Big 12 favorite. Kansas State, make them the Big 12 preseason favorite. Did we look? We didn't. Let's make Arizona State 16 out of 16 in the Big 12. Just blanket. Herm Edwards left the program for dead. And then Kenny Dillingham comes in, has a struggle his first year because he's trying to clean up the mess. 16 out of 16. Colorado not getting much love. In fact, there was a poll that I read the other day, a preseason poll from another media site, that in the Big 12 had Deion Sanders ranked as the 15th best coach in the conference and Kenny Dillingham the 16th best coach in the Big 12 conference. As we sit here this morning, November 17th, heading into week 13, if Colorado and Arizona State win out, they are playing for a Big 12 championship. Simple as that. Colorado wins out, they're in. ASU wins out, they're in. Cheers to the Sun Devils, whose program was flatlined 2 years ago, 8-2, and winning out, they control their own destiny to the college football playoff. And that's what makes this sport so great. There was no reason whatsoever. And look, I'm being a little bit bullish on it this morning. I didn't think. People ask me, I said like 7-5 at best for Arizona State. We'll see what happens. But that's the beauty of the sport. You can expect the unexpected. You can go across the board. I can sit here keeping it Big 12 and tell you Kansas, cheers to Rock Chalk Jayhawk. They continue to play good football towards the end of the season, and they're shocking people. I could sit here and tell you Army, cheers on a bye week, getting ready for Notre Dame. That's what makes college football great. Yeah, the powers are going to be there. They always are. Georgia resuscitated their season with 2 losses. The SEC is absolutely crazy right now with all these 2-loss teams. You're going to have another with Texas A&M and Texas playing each other in the final week. What's going to happen there? We don't know. Another great example. Look at the preseason media poll. I'd have to find it. Where was Indiana ranked in the Big Ten? Where were they ranked? Preseason? I bet dead last, close to dead last. Right around there with Purdue. Indiana has a chance next week to punch their ticket potentially to the Big Ten of the college football playoff. Indiana, basketball school historically. And that's what this season has done. That's what the transfer portal and NIL, the 12-team playoff, I know there's still some bad that goes with NIL and the transfer portal. You know, prime example, Thomas Castellanos, BC. He gets benched, transfers, he's out right in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season. But that's what makes the sport great. Stanford yesterday, 2 touchdown plus underdogs to Louisville. They were getting beat. Louisville had a chance to pull away every single, and they just didn't take advantage of it. Instead, Stanford comes in. Their backup quarterback comes in for 1 snap, throws the game-time touchdown 35 all. This is late in the game. Louisville goes forward on 4th and long. They don't get it near midfield. Stanford gets it. 5 or 6 yard gain. Personal foul by Louisville with 1 second left. 15-yard penalty to make it a 57-yard field goal. Louisville jumps offside. Stanford coming into the game, 2 wins on the season, game-winning kick. Cheers Stanford the tree, 38-35 over Louisville. That was happening all over the place yesterday. Clemson and Pitt. What a game that was. Back and forth, kind of ugly. Penalties, injuries, just it wasn't good football until it was. When Nate Yarnell let his team down to tie it at 17 all, or rather to take the lead on Clemson, 20-17, only to see Kate Klubnik, 50-yard touchdown. Clemson's still alive. Cheers to All In and what Dabo's doing there. I mean, this season from start to, I could point out stories everywhere across the country. South Carolina, the Gamecocks. You could argue, along with Tulane, 2 of the hottest teams in the country. South Carolina's won 4 in a row, including at Oklahoma, top 10 Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, which was trendy all season, and last night I ranked Missouri. They lost to Alabama by 2 points, who right now in the 2-team cluster, Alabama statistically and with the metrics is the favorite to represent the 2-loss team cluster in the SEC championship. And when you really take a look at everything this season, as we embark on the week before Thanksgiving and week 13, how special it's been. Colorado, Deion Sanders, they're 8-2. They're 6-1 in Big 12 play. It's almost like they gotten better the less we've talked about them. 49-24. And that's the theme that when we're chugging our Bloody Marys today, as you should, that you really need to enjoy. Florida. How much hell has Billy Napier taken all year? Going into the season, hot seat. Well, why? Hot seat isn't performed. Okay, I get it. I've been bullish on the fact that when you get rid of a head coach, you better make sure that he's better than the one you had. I said before, I thought firing Dan Mullen was a mistake. Still might be. Still could be. They've decided to embrace Billy Napier and say, hey, look, a lot of our money's tied up with the freshmen and sophomores. He's got a great young quarterback. Let's see if we can develop this kid. Let's see if we can ride something. All Billy Napier did was knock LSU out of everything. Playoff, SEC championship. They get to 500. 2 games left, one of them against Florida State to be bowl eligible. Hardest schedule in the country. And Florida, cheers Gators. The Swamp. Spent some time with Steve Spurrier this week at our game on Thursday night. just talked about what it takes to make Florida one of the powerhouses in the SEC again. It's just been a season to remember with all of these stories, and it can go up and down, and we've seen it. Tennessee, you're still in it. Georgia, we saw Carson Beck play yesterday. If that Carson Beck shows up every week, Georgia's the best team in the country. They're just going to get you. And so when you look at it in the standing in some of these conferences, I mean, we are set up for absolute chaos at the end. I will say this. If you're looking at a conference that's probably going to go into the final 3 weeks of the season breathing pretty easy, it's the Big Ten. And cheers to the Big Ten for not putting it out there for everybody to see. I mean, really think about it. Penn State, they're going to be 11-1. They're in the barn. They're going to make the college football playoff because they're high enough. Cheers to Penn State. Look at Ohio State. They're the one team that needs to be careful. They beat Indiana. They beat Michigan. They're in the Big Ten championship. I do believe if they tripped up in the Big Ten championship to Oregon, they'd still get in. Oregon, they're in. Indiana, one-loss team. If that's only to Ohio State, they're in. They're too high not to be. So the Big Ten's feeling pretty good about themselves with 4 teams in the college football playoff. And then you've got the Big 12 champion. They're going to get in. That could be between BYU, Arizona State, Colorado, probably going to be a one-bid league. ACC, likely a one-big lead unless some of these 2-loss SEC teams fall, and then maybe you'll get at large. Army. Think about if Army beats Notre Dame on Saturday at Yankee Stadium, runs right through, wins the American against Tulane, who's playing really, really good football. I mean, there's so much out there to be thankful for in the final 3 weeks of the season. So here's what I'll say. I'll say this. Let's sit back. Let's have our Bloody Mary. Let's find every team in the country that has an opportunity to play for something that no one thought. And that's the kind of theme of the day. There are teams that are ranked. Let's pull up the rankings real quick. And I could go down the list. A lot of upsets yesterday, by the way. When you go down the list, BYU, no one thought that. They're still in it. Boise State, they were ID'd as a group of 5 team. They're still in it. Driver's seat. SMU and Rhett Lashley, cheers, pony up. Perfect in conference. Driver's seat for an ACC championship game appearance. Still not ranked in the top 12. I mean, you could go on and on this list. And that's what's going to make it good. Final 3 weeks of the season. Get your Bloody Mary, mimosa, whatever you like. Come hang out with me on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel. We're going to digest this 1 week at a time. The bedhead's still going to be amazing for you. Consistent at best. Although no late game on ESPN next week. I might show up on here looking like I just went to a health spa because I'll be so not tired. No bags under my eyes. I think I even forgot to take the makeup off last night when I got home to go to bed. It was that kind of Saturday, and it was perfect. I might turn to you. I might work a lot.